So in the previous session, we have discussed up to developing the activities related to sign-in activity and also then related to the main activity. We started regarding the main activity. Um, So in this app, what we are trying to do is we are going to Google sign in with with the first page, and then once you select the certain account, you will be directed to the second screen, which looks like this. This can be improved. I think the layout of this screen can be improved by adding some layout uh, options for this. You can customize the layout in a much better manner. This is the most simpler kind of layout. So you have two buttons, and one button correspond to going forward to another screen, where this will be the app that we were discussing about under intents and recycler view in the past sessions. So this app will be accessed once we click on the contact list button. And then we can go to each of these contact list buttons, people, and then we can access their details. So after that, we can also log out from this using logout button that is available in the second screen. In the last class, we have discussed about how to develop this first screen. And in today's class, we can discuss about how we can develop the second screen with these two activities enabled. So in the last class, I think we discussed about a very simple case where we have the sign in option and we have the sign out option. So in here, we can actually put sign out as well without putting logout. So I think we can use the word that we prefer. In terms of the development of the app, we can follow a certain steps of instructions. So in the LMS, you can find the instructions that I have given. In the LMS, I have given a link to this document known as the Firebase authentication using Google. So in there, you can find the instructions. In the last class, we have done several, steps. We have completed several steps in this part. So in the last class, we have decided about the sign-in activity. We have discussed about the sign-in activity, and we have developed the layout file for the sign-in activity. Sign-in activity means the first page that you get with the sign-in option. This page, this can be designed using the layout files. You can include the images that you want. In here, I have included a Google image. However, you can include some other image that is preferable, better one with better size as well. So this is small actually to the visible eye. So we can improve the size of this Google image, and also you can customize what is shown in here in the button. If you search also, you can find in the Google like the possible layout design that you can use for Google sign in button. So you can type Google sign in button in Android XML um, like code or like XML version. So you can go to the Google, can go to this site. I think it is here. So in here you can find uh, uh, the layout file, layout XML code, which is for the sign in button. So this will result in giving you a sign in with Google button like this. I hope you are able to see what I'm showing. So this XML code corresponds to giving a sign in button that looks like this. So we can actually try to implement that in here as well. So once we go to this current layout that we are having, we have a layout and we have the like we have the sign in button designed in here. We can basically do different things, right? So we can maybe we can remove this, can put that code in here. So I think so if I do that, I also need to make sure that I change the ID so that I can be accessed through the sign in activity file. I need to check the ID that I have given for the sign in button in here. See, the ID has turned red. It has turned red because they cannot find the sign in ID button. I will take this sign in button ID and put it into this. Now I think that error has been removed. But however, it's not of a sign in button. A button is not of, uh, like sign in, the button type is not button. It is sign in button. The sign in button that we give in here in the layout file corresponds to the category of sign in button. We need to import that library into our sign in activity file so that the sign in activity, sign in button can be enabled in here. We need to make sure that we enable that library in here. We have to import the library related to that. So I can see the library in here, which is related to sign in button. That so this is the library that we need to enable sign in button option. So we can copy that library. I think now the error is resolved. So I can see the button appearing here. There's some problem with the location of the button. But once you go to the button, you can see the rest of the application buttons appearing in here. Okay. The layout file can be like adjusted so that we can have the sign in button in the middle of the screen. So it has been using a relative layout. like you can change this layout to be constraint layout, and then you can change the location of the button. In order to do that, you can change the relative layout in here to constraint layout. Then you can add the necessary features in here, and then you can make it like a layout that you can adjust the position of the sign in button. So I think that can be done when you change the constraint layout in here. You can do that by adding constraint layout to this file. So the thing I want to focus will be then about this sign in activity we have focused on in the last class. So in that last class we discussed about how we can use different functions to enable the sign in option. So we have used like some libraries from Firebase authentication, and then we have used also some libraries related to Google sign-in options, and then we have used that to check whether the person who's pressing the button has a authentic Google account. So if there's a Google account, then the app will return like um, a user, an active user, and that active user's details will be shared. So in here, what we have done is that we are finding whether the current user is whether there's a value for the current user, and then if there's a value for the current user, then we know that there is a person who has this actual Google account, and then if that is the case, that this screen will be directed to the next screen, which is the main activity screen. So this all happens once we click the button, sign in button. So although we identify a user using this operation, we have to first actually sign in. We have to click whether there's a sign in button has been clicked. So I think it's better to have that option done first. Then you find whether there's a current user who's active using this Google, and then if it is the case, if it is there's a current user who's active, then we can use that the intents. We can use that users, and once we get the user's details, we can then proceed towards the intents. After we go to the intents, we have to start the intent using start activity command. Start activity command is used to start the intent. In here, we are giving intent object as the input to the start activity command. So, so with that, we can go to the next activity. We also have another command. So this function regarding signing is related to signing using the Google sign-in options libraries. So where all the necessary checking is done related to the sign-in process, and they are checking whether they have a legitimate user accessing the Google accounts. After that, we also have um, this in the sign-in function. We also have intent object defined. So intent object defined, where you um, where you define the intent like this. So in here, we are defining the intent using a different method to what we used earlier. So intent in here means about an intent that we are defining for accessing a page or a interface which is not in the same app. So this intent is different from what the intents that we have used in the session so far. So we have always discussed about the intents that we are using to access another screen in the app. However, we are now going to access some other interface which is not the same app. Then we get some data from that other interface. So if we get some data from that other interface, this start activity for result command will be activated, where the start activity for result will be will be compiled, which will start this intent and also uh, give us a certain result back. Some return result will be returned. Use once we use start activity result. If you use this command, there's a result that will be returned from this command, right? So a return, some kind of a return will be expected. So any questions up to this point? Thank you. So start activity is one. Start activity for result is a one way of calling an intent, and that intent method will include sign in intent for the intent that we want to achieve. Right, the sign in intent that enables us to go to another interface or go to another screen, and also this includes another input where we give a certain request code. In here we give a certain request code so that we can identify this whatever the result we get using this request code. So for commands where we are giving start activity for result, we need to give both intent and a certain request code. Okay, once we give a certain request using this request code, the result will also be obtained using this request code. So the result will be related to this request code. So by doing so, the result that we get will be mapped to the request code so that we know the result is for this specific request code that we have made earlier. So that is what is done and discussed in this on activity result function. So what happens is that once you start an activity with a result, then this on activity result function will be generated and it will be functioning. And then in here, you will be having this request code that we have already given to the while we initiated the start activity for result function. We have given one of the parameters as RC signing, which is the request code. So the request code will be given to the on activity result function, and then the result code will be generated by the on activity result function. The result code will be generated by the function itself. So this function on activity result will check whether the request code equals the request code that we have given. So in here we have given the request code related to sign in operation. So specific request sign in method request code will be checked, and they will be checking whether it's related to this um, specific sign in request. And then after, if the RC sign in is like the same, then we actually run these commands where you find whether this account is actually like able to access a Google account, and if it is able to access, then the this application will run up to the point where the ID of the account will be taken, and then result code will be generated based on that. If there's no account that is identified with related to the this request, with related to sign in intent request, then a failure message will be shown using a toast type of messages. So toast type of messages are messages that you can see that that appear once you sign into the like app and so on. So if you click on this, so you will be directed to this and we'll be going to the next one. So you will see the sign in failed or sign in successful in the messages. So those kind of messages will be shown like this. So whatever the message you want to mention, you can show in there. We can add a message in here. So if it is like, can add a message to say Google sign in successful. So see, you can see Google sign in successful came. Then again signed in as a as Bishop as my email address came. So that toast message regarding signed in as the username is given in here. So whenever the sign in option has been successful, that message is shown. So toast messages can be shown using this command, toast make test. Then you can give the context of the application, means the location of the application, and then signed in, and then whatever the message you want to display, and then show. So you can go to the next activity once the successful authentication has been done. So if there's an error in the Google sign-in access, then there will be access error message that is shown. Google sign-in failed, and with the like error code, there will be a code that will be shown when there's error in the sign-in function. So if somebody else who's accessing the, if somebody else accesses the app, then they will not be able to, like access the, pages. If I say I'm going to give another account in here, not like the previous one, but I give another one, which I give as maybe test. I don't know whether there's account like that, but if I go to that, then I will be given that, okay, there's no account like that. So therefore, I cannot proceed with a wrong account. I need to give like a legitimate request. So if it is not legitimate, it will not go ahead with that. So you need to have a legitimate Google account. Even if you log in with a legitimate Google account, sometimes you will be shown an error in some cases where you cannot, you haven't really accessed the web client ID properly. So, right. So in cases where, although you have a legitimate Google account, you have a legitimate account, but you still cannot access this next page. The reason being that you haven't specified the web client ID properly in this application. So it's important to like do the initial steps properly so that you can integrate with the Firebase uh, and the and we can correctly access the Firebase project using this app. So you need to have those IDs properly defined in the proper places in the initial stages. So anyway, like with those functions, we can obtain like responses from the sign-in activity, right? So sign-in activity will include several functions where you are testing whether that sign-in procedure will give you a correct user details with related to certain Google account. And using those details, you can let the person enter into the next activity. This is how you will be able to, initiate a new activity using Google sign-in options. And then afterwards, we actually discussed about developing the main activity file. So the main activity file needs to have this the options that allow the main activity to go to a next screen or else go to the logout. So in here you have this second screen where you, like once you sign in, you will be able to go to the second screen, which will give you the two buttons, contact list and logout. the contact list button will create an intent and will go to this new screen. So that should be enabled in this main activity. So we have two options. We have sign out button and we have the contact list button. So once someone clicks the sign out button, that sign out option, sign out function has to be enabled. Sign out function has been defined separately at the bottom of this code. In here, the sign out will be done, and the sign out will be done based on the Google sign out options and also Firebase authentication related, libraries. So the sign out can be done like this. So signing out will be done like this. So where basically you will be signing out using the predefined like functions such as the client dot sign out, and afterwards once you reach that command you will then define to what intent you want to go to once this sign out is clicked, which means that if someone is clicking the sign out, then you have to go to the first screen, which has the sign in option. So you have to direct the intent towards the sign in activity, where the sign in activity screen will be accessed. So start activity intent and then finish the processing here. So like once you click the, the sign out option in here, you should go to the first page. So the first page should be accessed. So say that thing is done in here. So you are at the main activity currently, and then you need to go to the sign in activity. So they should be mentioned explicitly or clearly under this sign out option, such that the sign out option after it happens, the next activity will be accessed. So related to the buttons, we can define two buttons, one button for the sign out option. And once the sign out option is clicked, you can follow the procedure given in this function, sign out and start sign in activity. Then you can then click the contact list button. Then you can go to the screen related to the contact list. So for that, you need to define an intent related to that. So the intent will have some, inputs where you define the current activity and then the activity that you want to go next. This is the activity you want to go next, which is the contact list activity. So once you once you have defined this intent properly, you can then start the activity. Right? So the starting activity command will be used to access the intent. So with that, we are able to enable the two different functions in the in the app in the second screen. So you have two different buttons in the second screen now. So these are enabled. After that, like I also mentioned, now sign out option also be enabled. Now the thing we need to implement is this contact list. How to connect that to the contact list activity. So we need to make sure that we have a new screen or a new activity defined as contact list. So once we give this, this, once you have this contact list button click operation done, once it is done, then you have to go to the next intent, which is the contact list screen or the contact list intent. So, so we have to go to the contact list. The contact list activity must be created in this app. You need to create a new activity named contact list. You can create a new activity by going to this Java, and then in the directory we have different projects that we are working on. You can go to a certain project and click new, and then you can create activity in here. Then you can select the type of activity you want to create and you can create the activity. Right? So I can create an activity. Let's say I clone this as main activity number 2, and it will show in the directory. You can also delete these unwanted ones if needed. So once you create a contact list, the like class, you can include the necessary details of the contact list class. So once you have done that, you now know that you have screens up to the contact list point. However, if you want to further go to the next screen, which is having more details regarding each contact person, which is what this application is doing, you need to add another intent to this contact list class, and then you have to add another intent in here which directs this page into the next page with profile information. So in here, what basically has been done is that you are defining a contact list, and that contact list will be operated using contacts adapter. Contacts adapter will be defining the recycler view operation and how the recycler view should behave. So inside contacts adapter, we can define the all the functions of the recycler view, and also we can define how like by pressing each item in the list, you can go to the next intent. So you can go to the next intent by going and clicking on one of the contact person's name in the list. So whatever the data we have regarding each person's data, we are forwarding to the next screen using intent. So you need an intent in this recycler view to forward the data of these contact people, contact list people, uh, to the next screen. So for that, we are using the intent method. We give the details of the contact person, his name, age, bio, any other image we have regarding that person, and then we can you know send that to the next screen, which is the details activity screen, or the details activity class. So this class is defined in another file, so that file uh, will be accessed once we click on this each of the items in the recycler view. So you will go to the details activity file. The details activity file will include all the informative data regarding each contact person. So once you have all these additional information about each contact, they will be available in this details activity file. So activity files will be defined like this. So you need to make sure that those activity files will have the necessary activity file components or like parameters in them. Also, you can check whether all these activities are created in this list in the directory, so that you don't miss any of the activities. Another thing to check whether is this Android manifest file. Android manifest file contains basically a global view of the application that is defined. So if you have if you take a look at this Android manifest XML file, so if you can look at it, then it will show all the activities that we have created in this app. So recently I made this made activity 2 file, which is an activity. So that one is now uh, included in this file, right? So new activities are defined in this Android manifest file. Also, you can define in here the launch activity, or the activity that launches the app. So in our case, we are going to launch the app after doing sign in activity. So the first most launching activity will be the sign in activity. So once you sign in, you will get these other activities, and other types of activities are available in the project. So if there's a project or activity you don't want to use, or if it is not needed, you can delete it from the directory. You can also delete it from this code as well. So all the activities will be defined in here. And if in some case you have, for example, if you have an incident where you have currently this code piece in another main activity file, if this if this if this section is in here in the main activity file related to the main activity, it will say that once the app is launching, this is the first component that will be launched. So a lot of things will change once we change the launching activity to another activity. So if we want to launch the application we develop with a certain activity, then we need to define that certain activity as the launching activity, and that definition will be done using this intent filter command, where you define the launching activity as this activity in consideration. So inside in here we define that specific information. We need to define that sign in activity is the launching activity. So that is how we can define the launching activity. So once we define that, then only the app knows that the app needs to start with the launching activity. So I hope it is clear to you. So with all that, I think we can run the app, and the app will run as we already saw. So I think that those are the things you will need to do. So you need to make sure all the different activities are enabled, and also the information related to each of the activity are included in the Kotlin files related to that. And also the data are given in here as necessary for the app to like show the information. So this is basically what we have developed in the last intent class, where we related to intent. So all these activity files that we discussed must be already available to you. So I have uploaded that intent based project in the GitHub. So you can refer that. You can check whether um, you can create this details activity files and like contact list files. And the details activity file is related to the activity file which relates to the contact details of a person. So details activity file for the class, activity file will be required to show the information regarding each contact person in the contact list. The related information regarding the contact list are given in this contact list activity file. So each of these files must be available in order to go to the next screens and see their functionalities. So that's regarding developing this app with Google Sign-in and enabling multiple options in that app. So I think like if you follow the same code and you can test it on your own, you can understand the different functions of the different commands that are used, and also you can understand how the the app can be used for different other tasks, and also develop a new app on your own. Any questions up to this point? So anyway, I will go ahead with the main activity file. So the main activity file so has this data class, but the data class is defined as a serializable data class. Serializable data class. In order for us to, access this person class anywhere in other activities, we can use this um, serializable function, and then we can access this person object anywhere in any other activities by declaring person. So serializable is important. Therefore, in order to get the passing of data class from this activity to another activity. So that is basically regarding the like different functions. We can see different functions related to start activity. Start activity command is used to go to another activity once you give a certain intent. And then you can also use start activity with result, which means that the activity will start, but that activity will give some result code back to the code, so that you can test and verify like from which application you got this result. from which instance you got this result. That can be checked using the start activity with result command, right? So those kind of commands are there. And then there's also another command which relates to on activity result command. So this is visible in this file where we define the sign in activity. Then in there you have on activity result. So if there's a this function, it will check the request code, that is the request code that is specific to the Google sign-in operation that has been initiated before. And using the request code, you can find out whether somebody has tried to Google sign in or not. Then if there's so if there's a like username related to the request, then this this application will check for Google accounts with related to the that requested username. Then if there's no such account related to the request, then the app will show there's some failure in the system. There's a failure in the Google sign-in operation. There's a failure in the Google sign-in process. So if there's an authentic user only, the messages will be shown to be successful. Then that we know that that process has happened successfully. So after authenticating, after checking the authentications using Firebase authentication with Google libraries, we can also check further related to the different user names and related to the Google account of the user. If the user has a legitimate user account, then all the details related to the sign-in option or like sign-in operation will be shown inside this messages. So once that like Google account identification has happened successfully, then one thing is that the intent will be defined where the this activity will be changed or will be going to another activity which is defined as a second activity. So if we don't have a legitimate account, then a failure message will be shown. So that is how the on activity command and other like activity commands will be generated. So this on activity result will be like proceeding once you give some result code to the function. Based on the result code that you get, you can decide whether you are going to like properly complete the Google sign-in process or not. If there's no like legitimate result that comes after we set this on activity result operation, then we know that there's no result coming from this. Therefore, we cannot really say that Google sign-in has happened successfully. So in order for the Google sign-in to happen successfully, a result code must be generated. So the result code we call as result code in here must be generated and received to identify that Google sign-in process has happened successfully. Once you have done the Google sign-in process successfully using this function, Firebase authentication with Google, we can find more information about the current user. So then after we find the email addresses and their personal like details, right, such as name, we can say those, we can use those information to show toast images to the users. So we can we can obtain more details regarding the current user who's accessing the Google account. So we can use toast messages to display messages in our app. So with that, I think I'm hoping you have got some idea related to integrating sign-in options to applications. So I hope that you will be able to follow the instructions I have given in the Word file that I have uploaded in the LMS related to the day 2 Firebase authentication using Google. And then day 3, Firebase, integrating the sign-in option to contact list app. So integrating the sign-in option to a contact list app, we have discussed in this session. So if you have any questions, please kindly let me know. If possible, please mark your attendance. Thank you. So if you have any questions, you can ask. Otherwise, if you have another lecture, please go ahead with that. Thank you so much for attending.